What's up, everybody? We're back again with another race review. I have a very special guest with me today. We have from Holland, the 313 Niek Kimmann. There he is. And if we're doing a race review with Niek Kimmann, there's really only one track that we can talk about for the race review. Do you have any guesses what that might be?
Let me think. Papendal, maybe?
I'm thinking we have to do Papendal. Now, when I was looking through all the races from Papendal, there's a lot of really boring races because you've just won.
I don't think they were boring, though.
Yeah, well, they're fun for you. So, how many races have you won in Papendal?
World Cups 4. There was one Challenge Cup.
Okay, so you've won 4 World Cups in Papendal.
Yes.
So we had to find the only one in the last 2 years that you didn't win to find the only race that was really good. But this was a really crazy race.
It was a crazy one for sure.
Yeah, so the one we're going to be talking about today was round 4 of 2018. It was a great race, and Niek was in the main, so we'll get his perspective on what he thought, and we'll go ahead and pull up the video. I'm looking at this start list here, and we've got 4 Dutchies in there. That means half the gate is Dutchies. Why do you think that the Dutch are so strong on Papendal?
It's actually crazy because this was day 2, so round 4. But on round 3, so the day before, I was actually the only guy in the main. So it's not that obvious. I think this was just a really good day for the Dutch. And of course, we all know the track as well. So that definitely helps. But also for the Dutchies, it was a special day, like 4 guys in the main. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Like we've been with 2 or 3 a few times, but like 4 is really special. And this one actually, George Harmsen, this was actually his first main. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, and it was what a crazy first main for him as well. How many first straights do you think you've done in Papendal?
That's
if you had to guess.
Question. Yeah, like the first straight changed over the years, but overall, wouldn't be surprised if it's a couple thousand.
Wow.
I have no idea.
So
I should start to count.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had so many races at Papendal that I have to look back the semi to see if I won it. But I think I won it, and I had won from lane 8 at Papendal twice before, so it was a pretty easy pick to go.
The gate's about to go down here, and the gate goes down, and the race is crazy. Right off the bat, over the first jump, you can see that there's 5-6 guys that are all within about half a bike length of each other. All the way, into the first turn, it stays in a really tight bunch. So, Niek, what are you seeing down the hill here? The first thing that I see is it looks like there's pretty much 7 dudes that are even. It looks like Quilly and Isidore out of 6 is maybe the only guy that's not quite even with everybody. But it's a tight race right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. For myself, I had a decent start, not the best one, but definitely not a bad start. And at the bottom of the ramp, I saw George Harmsen, like a good friend and teammate these days, actually. He was slightly in front. So I think I wanted it a bit too much. I won day 1, and I think I was pushing a bit too hard. So at the landing of the first jump, you see I cased it a little bit.
Yeah.
You see Corbin on the inside, cased it a little bit as well. Then you see Joris going a little bit high, and George Harmsen just got the landing like absolutely perfect.
Wow,
so that first straight at Papendal is pretty easy, but just that first jump, it's a bit of a step up, like a triple step up. So it's really easy to make mistakes there, and especially when everything's that tight, it's super important to get it perfect. And George Harmsen was the only guy who had his best first straight in that final. So he whole shot it. So that was pretty cool for him.
Yeah, well, what's crazy is if you pause it on the second jump, like right when you're going to land, Sylvain, Corbin, Dave, Joris, and you are all, real close.
Yeah.
But it looks like Joris Harmsen has just a wheel out in front of everybody else, and that's all because he caught that backside on that first jump. Well, it looks to me like Joris Harmsen was moving to the inside,
Yeah.
and ended up making it so that Joris and Corbin couldn't jump the triple, and they had to jump 2 in, which kind of gave you, Joris, and Sylvain some space into the first turn.
Yeah, because that's what's funny, that Sylvain came from lane 1 and he landed the first jump good. And then you had George Harmson and me coming from lane 7 and 8. So everyone in the middle pretty much had to pull the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you don't see a lot, like in an Elite Man World Cup final, that you have 3 guys, 3 of the best guys in the world who actually have to roll the triple.
Yeah. Well, something else that's crazy here is if you pause it on the start of the triple, Tuan is in 7th place here, but he's the only one who jumps the triple. So
Yeah.
he jumps from 7th into 4th. So he passes 3 guys in one jump just because he's in a position on the track that he can jump the triple.
So what's crazy in this final, that there's only one guy who did everything right on the first straight. Everyone else was making little mistakes. You don't see that often. Out of the first turn, I was still kind of happy that I was in a top 3 position with the first straight I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked in front and I saw George Harmson. Like, he's a friend of me. Of course, it was cool for him to be in the first position. But at that moment, you don't think like we're friends. At that moment, I'm just thinking, what can I do to win? And what you see a lot is people who make their first main, or who are in the main or in the lead for the first time. They start pushing a bit too hard, trying to be 110%, and they start making mistakes. So everything I'm thinking is, I need to make sure I'm in second. So if he makes a mistake, I can react. I'm in third, a little bit behind Sylvain. I had more momentum out of the first turn. I had the second straight perfect, and all I'm thinking on the berm jump is just push as hard as I can and try to go around Sylvain. Yeah, I made a big mistake on the berm jump. Bit of a dead sailor, and
that second turn is
almost
really
jumped
weird.
out of the track. So my race was pretty much over from that point. Yeah, Sylvain didn't even push me really wide, but I was just above him, and Tuan just made a bit of a high-low. And I was a bit surprised by that, so I actually landed on the side of the track. Next to the white line.
Yeah,
so
it looks
I
like
lost
you guys
my
are really
momentum.
close off the lip. You guys are real close off that takeoff, and you jump over the white line on the landing.
That wasn't the best moment, because that's when my race was pretty much over. But
how did Sylvain?
Everyone except me, that's where it really started to get excited.
How did Sylvain catch up so fast, you think? Because if you look at in the turn, going into the second turn, he's a bike length behind Joris Harmson. But then when he lands on the step up, he's already pulled up right next to him. What do you think he did so well that gave him that extra speed?
I think always when you're in second, it's always a bit easier to catch up than when you're in front. I think when you're in front, you try to be safe. Like, you want to go a bit lower in the turn so no one can make a pass, but that also gives opportunity for the guys in the back to catch up. And, Sylvain is one of the fastest guys in the world.
And do you think that going into the last turn, that's part of why Harmson eventually goes down, is because he has Sylvain next to him? And you know how it is when you're winning a race and someone comes next to you, sometimes it's hard to focus forward, right? And you start, who is that? Who's next to me? What's going on? And with Joris not having done this before, this is his first time leading a race in a World Cup. All of a sudden, he's winning. Oh, someone's right next to me. Do you think that is maybe part of the reason why he ends up crashing in the last turn?
The last turn at Papendal is a pretty tricky one as well. It's not really steep, and it's a bit bumpy. So it's always tricky if you're on the inside. You don't want to go full speed, but especially with Sylvain next to him, he doesn't really have room to go to the outside. So he has to go into the turn, probably going faster than he did the other laps.
Oh, yeah.
And he just got unlucky. He just slid out, not much. The only thing he could have done is probably pull the brakes a little bit going into the turn. But, that's a tricky thing to do with Sylvain in your wheel, especially in a World Cup final with one straight to go.
Yeah,
so that's always a tough decision. And I talked with George Harmson about this a lot, and he said, like, he didn't feel like he really made a mistake if he could do that final over again, he would probably do the same thing. So it's just one of those moments where
he's just in a hard spot. He's in a
yeah,
really
it's
tough
a
position.
tough thing to do, because if he pulled the brakes, Sylvain would have passed him as well, probably. Yeah. So you just take the risk, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't.
What's crazy looking at Sylvain here, he was only a few centimeters from going over the turn when he tries to go around, and he's on the white line. And if he goes any higher, he's going to hit the tough block and go over the handlebars.
Yeah.
And in this moment, right before Joris ends up going down, Joris Harmsen, Joris Daudet is sitting there thinking, okay, I'm making a high-low here. I'm going to get Tuan for sure, and maybe even make a charge at Sylvain.
Yeah, like Joris Daudet had to pull the brakes for the triple on the first straight, but still he was in fifth on the second straight. But so many things happened that he could make moves, and in the last turn he was, I don't think, without crashes, I think his high-low wouldn't have been good enough to take the win, but he was definitely going for a podium spot, which is great at the World Cup too. But just when he makes the move, Harmsen slides out, and there's not much Joris Daudet can do. It's hard to have a main with two Jorises in it.
Yeah.
But
and then there's a second where it looks like you're gonna get on the podium, right? When Joris and Joris are down, and I'm gonna go around them. I'm in third place now. Like you said, a World Cup at a podium is still a World Cup. A podium at a World Cup is still a podium at a World Cup.
And what funny in this race, it's I had the red plate on. Because I won day one, I had the red plate on. But there was only a few points between me and Joris Daudet. So I was actually thinking about the ranking in the back of my mind a little bit. So I really wanted to end in front of Joris Daudet, because then I would be sure that I could keep the red plate. Something that's, back then it's probably my first time ever with the red plate. So that's something special. So I really wanted to keep it. So even though you're in fourth or fifth, I was actually thinking, when I saw Harmsen crash and I saw Joris going over it, at that moment I was thinking, like, this is also good for me in the ranking, and maybe I can end on the box. But then,
and you had all this thoughts in the last turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like in BMX finals like this, it feels like everything's going in slow motion. Yeah. Like a 30-second lap feels like 15 minutes probably.
What's crazy is if you look at this last turn, Dave Vandenberg is in 8th place.
Yeah.
And
it goes from 0 to hero real quick.
He goes from 8th place, and sometimes you get lucky, right? And you're in a good position. Sometimes you're the guy like Joris Daudet, where you do everything right, you're making a good move, and somebody crashes in front of you. There's nothing that you could do. But then sometimes you're like Dave, and you're in 8th place in the last turn, and then you're on the podium at the finish line.
Yeah, that's BMX. Because like when Dave went into the last turn, I don't think there was a single thing in his head that thought he was going to end on a podium.
No.
But, a podium is a podium.
Yeah, it still counts. Yeah. You have to be in the main event, and you have to be in the position to do all that. Cool. Well, hey, Niek, thanks for doing the recap. It was cool to get your thoughts on that race as well. Yeah. Hope everybody at home staying safe, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Comment below some more ideas of races you guys want to see done, and don't forget to subscribe to Niek's YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, all that fun stuff that we say.
And don't forget to watch our quiz.
Yes, on our quiz as well on his channel. Check it out. We'll see you guys next time.
See you.